Welcome to BSG webinars, everyone. I'm Dan Carney, coming from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Thanks for joining us. This is our 10th episode, and we have more episodes on our website coming up. Link to video recordings as well. The page can be found by going to bsgcraftbrewing.com and clicking on the webinars tile, or going to bsgcraft.com/webinars. We don't have any webinars up there right now, but we are working on a few new episodes, and they will be up soon. We'll be doing one with Simpson's Malt, as well as covering a lot of aspects of the hop harvest out in Yakima. So looking forward to doing those soon. Also, throughout this webinar, we'd love for you to ask questions. So there's the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on a mobile, you just tap and hit Q&A. So we encourage you to ask questions. And if you have follow-up questions, you can always email us at webinars@bsgcraft.com. Well, I'm really excited about today's. We have Richard Park of Old Flame Brewing and Jimmy Kim of Remix My Fitness. Their talk is entitled, "The Body of Brewing, Health, and Wellness in the Craft Industry." So I would like to welcome those guys. Hi, Jimmy.
What's going on,
Hi,
everybody?
Richard.
Hey, guys. Okay.
Well, I will let you guys get going, and we'll get some questions at the end, and we'll talk then.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for the
Sounds
intro,
good.
Dan.
Absolutely.
So, hey, guys. It looks like let me know if this is right, but it looks like we got Michael and Matthew in on the webinar today. So I want to just quickly say thank you to you guys for spending some time with us. And hopefully this will be as rewarding to you guys as it's been for Jimmy and I. But before we kind of get into that, I want to just do a little bit of an introduction. I think one of the coolest things in this industry is just how we all ended up here. And I got to say, I think for me, and I think a lot of my peers in the industry, it's been a little bit of a tumultuous journey to get here. And so I'd like to share that a little bit. So again, my name is Richard Park. I'm the head of brewing and operations here at Old Flame Brewing Company here in Port Perry, Ontario. It's just about an hour northeast of Toronto. Before I kind of started here, I had the pleasure of working at one of the macro breweries here up in Canada on Labatt with ABI. Got to start my career there as a global management trainee with the intention to be on the commercial side of the business. But as soon as I landed a couple of projects in the brewery and I realized, man, you could earn a living and make beer doing it, it was an easy go ahead and transition. Headed over to Niagara College, did the Brewmasters program there, and here I am. I've also invited Jimmy Kim to this conversation. He's been a lifelong coach, lifelong fitness trainer of mine. He's the first guy who showed me how to lift weights. And so I've always gone to him and relied on him in regards to keeping my body as sharp as I can. And there was really no other person I wanted to invite in regards to walking you guys through some of our findings today. Jimmy, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself before I kind of take it over.
Yeah, sure. So look, everybody, it's a pleasure to be here with you all. My name is Jimmy Kim. I run a company called Remix My Fitness, where we offer corporate live virtual sessions in working out, in meditation, and just mindfulness and all that other good stuff. So it's actually a big change for me to be able to sit down and to work with everybody here, because you guys are already further ahead, I think, than most of the people that I talk with, that I speak with. Most of the people that I talk with, they're at desk jobs, whereas you guys, especially from what I heard from Richard, is it's a 10,000 step job, right? Maybe you're not walking a long distance 10,000 steps, but in your small little space while you guys are brewing, you're walking from here, walking from there. So I'll say kudos to everybody here. You guys are already ahead of most of the people that I train with. But I've been a fitness coach for the last 10 years. I've been interested in fitness and health all my life. I used to be a really big guy, almost 300 pounds myself, and it took me a long time to realize what fitness and health meant to me, and it's led me to this career. I've left my government job about like 10 years ago, and I was doing that for about 12 years, and it's got me along here, and I wouldn't be doing anything else. I love what I do here. So pleasure being here, and hopefully we can learn from each other. And I'll also say, big fan of all your products. I haven't got to try all of them yet. I'll give you my address. I can put that in that chat group here. I'm more than welcome to accept samples.
Well, okay, so let's kind of jump into it, guys. And before we kind of get into the nitty gritty of what we want to talk about, I wanted to kind of set the scene, and a little bit of the context into why we're here. And as much as the title said, the body of brewing, the impetus and the inspiration for this was really in regards to the people of brewing and the people side. And one of the hypotheses that I really hold true to my heart here at Old Flame is that happy people make great beer. And we're very proud of the products that we produce. And honestly, if not the most, the reason why I think that we can achieve that is because of the people and the team that we have. You know, I always tell the guys at BSG, like, from a competitive advantage standpoint, you know, everybody has access to the same grain. Everybody has access to the same products that go into the beer. What really could be the competitive advantage for a brewery? And very much my hypothesis is the people. And so when I think about my team, I think about my brewing lead, my cellar lead, my packaging lead, and I think about all of the people in our tap room and retail. Very much a lot of the focus that our management team spends thinking about is the wellness, the training and development, making sure that people are recognized and compensated the right way. And within that kind of larger umbrella of managing our team, it occurred to me that fitness and health and wellness, as much as that this job is a 10,000 step job, and that we definitely get a little bit more, you know, activity than the average white collar job, it's something that needs to be addressed, and something that I didn't think that was being discussed enough. And so, you know, backtrack a few months, COVID hits. For me personally, who's someone who's used to working out 3 to 4 times a week at a facility or at a gym or whatever, all of a sudden that's taken away, and now I'm itching. And I come to the brewery, I'm looking around, and you know, to my own dismay, and you know, people making fun of me, I started lifting grain bags. I started doing squats, I started doing shoulder presses, I started doing a lot of different things like the back row, and just kind of keeping myself busy. And just from that start, I was able to kind of start a conversation with my own team. People were starting to get interested, started sharing a lot of the different moves that I was doing. And from there, it ended up becoming a small movement at the brewery where people were now talking about health and fitness a little bit more on the frontier or forefront of our discussions. And that's when it occurred to me, okay, let me contact BSG, the guys who are supplying me with the grain bag, and see if we can work on something together. One of the things that I've learned also throughout, you know, just a small like experimental approach in terms of fitness here at the brewery is, it occurred to me that we spend so much time focusing on maintaining equipment. And, you know, you'll look to most of the breweries in North America, and we are very, very good at that. But you know, it dawned on me, you know, the most important equipment here at our brewery is our bodies and the people that manage the equipment here, from the brew house to the cellar to the packaging hall. And that there's so many crossover opportunities from, you know, the concepts of preventative maintenance and efficiencies and productivity that we can apply back to our bodies, so that we can not only improve our physical fitness, but also set ourselves up for a long, healthy career in the brewing industry. And so one of the things I want to share with this group today is there's so many cool transferable thoughts and concepts within our industry that actually transfer so well over to our personal fitness. And then, you know, as we go, before I kind of pass it along to Jimmy, the reason that this grain bag was so interesting to me was that anybody, especially on the production side, the most common line item in the job description is to be able to lift a 55-pound bag. And so if that's going to be part of the industry, and if that's going to be one of the cornerstones in terms of getting an opportunity here on the production side, let alone taproom and retail, where people are lifting kegs and cases of cans, the grain bag is actually a really cool place to either start or aspire to when it comes to the types of movements that Jimmy and I were kind of looking at. And so being innovative, creative in terms of the right movements has been a really cool journey for us. So before I kind of pass it over to Jimmy, I kind of wanted to set the agenda a little bit, but over the course of our work together, Jimmy and I have talked about the common movements, the day-to-day, the pain points that our production team as well as our taproom retail staff face when it comes to our work. And so Jimmy's been able to walk us through and walk me through some mobility work, some strength training work that he'll dive a little bit deeper into. And he'll kind of use his space today to walk us through some of our findings and some of the thoughts that we've come together to build together. And then after that, I'll kind of take it back and walk the group today through some of the future steps that I'd love to see the industry, the breweries, and specific individuals take as we move forward. So Jimmy, I'll pass it over to you.
All right, sounds good. So what I'll ask everybody to do is maybe join me in a short dynamic warm-up here. So the warm-up that I'm doing right now for you everybody is actually specifically made for the brewers, for the people that work in the brew house. You guys have very specific issues, things like shoulders, things like the lower back getting tight. So some of these movements would be great to do to get you primed and ready to be able to lift those heavy things, to bend down, to crouch down, and do all that kind of stuff. So if you guys want to join me, you can do this, a lot of this seated, but if you want, you can stand up and do this with me, and I'll explain the movements as we go along. So what I'll get started doing is I like to warm up from top to bottom here, okay? So I'll have my hands behind my back, and this just ensures that my shoulders are cocked back here, okay? And then I'm going to start turning my neck all the way to the right and all the way to the left. And a lot of people think that this is supposed to be for our neck. But really what this does is actually help our shoulders start to calm down a little bit and start to feel a little loose. And you know that it's going to working because your hands are going to slowly slide down your butt here. And that's how you know that the shoulders are starting to get nice and loose. And then from here, we're going to go up and down. So I'm going to breathe in as I go up, and I'm going to exhale as I come down. And the same thing, like the previous move, it's not really so much a neck exercise, but to get your breathing down, to get it regulated, all the way up, all the way down. And from here, I'm going to get my shoulders, I'm going to raise my shoulders all the way to my ear, I'm going to pull them back, and I'm going to drop them down. And again, just getting primed and ready for movement. Okay, so breathing in as we come up, all the way back, and exhale. And from here now we're going to work our chest, we're going to work our back. I'm going to call one of these almost hand claps. So I'm going to open my arms as big as I can, and I'm going to slowly bring my hands together, almost together. All right, and I'm just going to go a little bit faster and faster. And how far do I bring my arms back? I bring them all the way back and in. And I'll do another 3, 2, 1. And one of the painstaking points that Richard mentioned to me that what you guys do at your job is a lot of stuff has to do with your lower back. So getting your lower back loose, getting it nice and warm, having your feet shoulder width apart, and start twisting your body. And you guys can see from my feet, I'm also twisting my feet as well, because the biggest mistake that you can make when you do this is just to do it without having your feet move. And what happens is it gets a lot of pressure on your knees. Okay? So do a couple of these, and the very last one, because you are picking up a lot of things, what happens is your legs are very strong, especially the top of the legs. And what happens is the muscles in the top of your legs, or front of your legs, they get longer. But then the muscles in the back of your leg, they get shorter. So it's because you're squatting, you're picking up things, your muscles in your legs are getting longer, whereas the ones in the back are getting shorter, and that causes a lot of tightness in the lower back. So we're going to do something called a deadlift, and we're going to have our feet very narrow. I'm going to put my hands on top of my thighs and do some of those other drills that we did earlier, bringing our shoulders back, keeping our legs almost straight, and I'm going to bend all the way down. And when we bend down into a movement, okay, this works our lower back. But when I pull myself up, this is where I should be working my tummy. So again, I'm going to come all the way down. And when I'm down here, I know I'm doing this right because I'm going to feel a little stretch in the back of my legs. And then before I come up, I'm going to be very conscious and tighten up my tummy a little bit. And I'm going to pull myself up. So we'll do one more. Coming all the way down. And then all the way up. All right? So we have a little short YouTube video for this that will be shared as part of this webinar that to follow along 2-minute warm-up that you can do at any time, really, before, middle, or after you finish work. So Richard told me there's 2 painstaking points here, which is the lower back and the shoulders. So I want to hit the lower back here first. So I was given one of these bags. I'll say it's heavy. I was guaranteed it is 55 pounds. So what happens is we've been told all our life, don't lift with our back. Okay, lift with your legs. So probably many of you maybe are lifting your bag like so, okay, or maybe more something like this. Okay, however, different variations of lifting it. And lifting with your legs is a great way. So if you're into the point of doing a nice squat, coming down low, picking up your bag, maybe you're hoisting over your shoulders, but I bet you most of the time you're just lifting it right off the floor, okay? So you not lifting with your back, I wouldn't say is the most correct way of saying it, but again, engaging your entire body. And we just finished with what's called a deadlift. So if you lift like this with your back all round, okay, you're going to tighten up your back. But if you lift with your back straight and following the cue of tightening your stomach as you pull up, one, the bag's going to feel much lighter, and also reduces any pain points that you might have. Now, there's another way you can pick it up, which I mentioned by squatting. And a good proper squat form, just to go over, is that your feet are shoulder width apart. And you're going to bend down a little bit past 90 degrees. You can still hunch over, and then you can pick up the bag like so, which I'm guessing is probably most of the areas where, or most of the movements that you're doing when you're working. You're probably picking up things, putting them down, putting them over, which probably leads to another reason why perhaps the lower back might get a little bit tight. You're also maybe crouching down into small, tiny spaces. And I always get asked, like, what are some ways that I can help strengthen my lower back? That's actually not the right idea to have. You want to be able to engage muscles that will help you do the lifting or help take away some of the strain. So, again, one of the bigger points I'll make sure we get down into always remembering is to engage our stomach. And it's very simple. Just flexing your tummy, like you want to show off at the beach, or you're in the mirror, or you're in the shower at home alone, right? You want to show off your stomach. Pretend that you have like a crazy six-pack anytime that you're lifting, picking up things, doing any kind of movements. But when we're down on the floor like this, and you're crouched down and you're feeling really tight, the best thing actually to do is to relax and to focus on your breathing, to exhale, and just to pretend to get as long as possible. So those are some of the little things that you can think of as you're doing it, as you're picking up things or you're crouching down into tight spots. Another thing Richard also mentioned is things like the shoulders get a little bit tight, and that's again from a lot of lifting or having your hands up in higher places. So one of the best things you could do is imagine that I had something I can hang off of. I would literally just hang down, stretching my shoulder, and you can do this anytime in any particular shift. Okay, it'll only take a second, and what you want to do is create a little space in your arm so that your joints have some room to breathe. You have some blood flowing in there. So those are some of the little things that you can do. There's some movements that we an exercise that we did with the bag. That's also part of the webinar, and maybe after once Richard gets done, we can demo some of those things. So I'll let Richard take it away, and if you have any questions, feel free hit me in the chat. These are some of the things that you could do while you're at the brewery. And of course, there's a lot of other things that you could do at home before you get to work or as a nightly routine that you can do that we can also cover in some of the Q&A portions.
Awesome. Thanks, Jimmy. I wonder if one of the questions that this group is having as we kind of built and walked through some of the technical aspects of lifting is, you know, like, and it was one of the hurdles that I had to go through here with our team is how do you convince your team to buy into this, to believe it, to be able to move the right way, rather than just kind of rushing through movements and trying to get things done quickly as it is such a common thing in our industry as we are always time constrained. But the story that I think resonated the best with my team is when I walked them through really this idea of the athlete's mentality. And, you know, one of the things I always joke around with Jimmy is that I often see and I aspire to be the poor man's LeBron James, in the sense that, you know, athletes similar to us make a living with their bodies. And so it only makes sense that we reinvest, that we think through, that we take care of the thing that helps us with our careers. And, you know, one of the ideas that stays with me, that persists in my mind, is that, you know, someone like LeBron James is investing around $1 million every year to his body. And so when I speak to my team is, you know, we might not be able to invest that much money, but at least the time, the effort, the thought, so that we can ensure that we have a long career and we maintain longevity in our bodies. And so a lot of the storytelling and convincing and getting the buy-in is important. Whereas if you kind of lead with just technical know-how and giving people information without getting buy-in is often a road for where these things go to die. When Jimmy and I kind of started talking about this was right about the time when my team really started to buy into it. And it wasn't just with the production team, but it was with everybody else in the tap room and sales. Like, you know, one of the cool things that we had is we have a couple of the girls in retail who have like a daily squat challenge. You know, a couple of my brewing lead has, you know, dumbbells that he brought to work that he's kind of integrating throughout his day. And that's kind of one of the points that I wanted to make is, you know, I think if we as an industry, you know, decide that fitness and the work that we're going to do is going to be separate to the day-to-day, that's when we're going to lose traction. But, you know, to Jimmy's point, like what kind of stretches can you fit in throughout the day? What kind of, you know, work can you do while you're milling? What kind of things can you do while the kettle's in boil? Like these are the aspects that are going to really hold true and maintain themselves over the course of our careers. And so, you know, the goal isn't to determine or build a fitness program, you know, that's dedicated to us, but how do we integrate it into our day-to-day? That's really important. You know, as I'd love to jump into the Q&A if you guys have any, but before I kind of do, I want to walk this group through just kind of my wish and what I'd like to see going forward, because this webinar isn't the end, but it's really a spark and an impetus to kind of get this conversation going in the industry. And so I have three. You know, the first and foremost, and the reason for the partnership with BSG is to really build this conversation industry-wide, is to get people within our industry to talk about fitness and wellness, you know, just as much as we talk about, you know, product safety, safety at the workplace, and really get this idea and growing recognition that, you know, much like athletes, much like our equipment, we need to maintain our bodies and do preventative maintenance work so that we can have a long career. Two, I'm very much interested in working with individuals in the industry. And, you know, everybody has different needs. Everyone's brewery is very different. You know, as much as we'd like to, you know, group ourselves as an industry, everyone has different needs. And and to be able to work with people and talk to people and work with teams to manage out specific needs within their brewery is definitely another thing that I'd like to see done. And then lastly, this is, I think, where BSG, Jimmy, and we really get excited is in order for us to grow awareness, what are some of the initiatives? What are some of the cool things that we can work on? And one of the concepts that I wanted to share with this group today is this idea that I have in my head called the Brewers Games. And right now, it's definitely a work in progress. But as an industry, we do such a good job of getting together, whether it's brewing competitions, seminars, technical seminars, webinars like this. But like in the future, once COVID starts to be something in the rearview mirror, and society starts to open back up, and we can kind of get together as a group in society again, is leveraging the tools that we use in our trades, such as grain bags, kegs, things like that, to host friendly competitions of fitness, where breweries can not only compete in the quality of our product, but the health and wellness of our people. So that's something that BSG and Old Flame and Remix are slowly starting to work through. And I wanted to kind of use this platform as an open invite to the rest of the industry to kind of continue this conversation and see how we can kind of progress. So, with that said, I'll throw it back over to Dan. It was a real pleasure to speak to everybody, and we'll take some Q&A questions now. Thanks, guys.
Well, thank you, Richard. Thank you, Jimmy. That was great. I do have a question that came in. Are there any common injuries that brewers encounter, and how might brewers prevent that?
So I'll take that one, Jimmy. So I've been really fortunate in my career to not see anything severe, but over the course of my career, I have seen and I've come across certain injuries that I thought were extremely preventable, and something that an interest or investment in fitness and wellness could have prevented is the two areas that I see the most often is one, the back. And, even here at Old Flame, I've seen someone take time off because of a strained back. I've seen a shoulder give out, and it takes people out a couple of days. But to me, I think the concept, and Jimmy started to build on this a little bit, but is this idea of core and developing your core, so that when you are low, when you are high, when you are kind of managing a different plethora of movements throughout the day, that if your core is tight, and we can get people on our teams and our breweries to accept this idea of working your core and bracing yourself as we take movements, there's some really cool benefits that can come out of that. Most breweries, we bump our heads, we could bash our fingers, or something lands on our feet. Hopefully we all have steel toes, but those things are just about being aware and being careful. But when I see like the shoulder and the back give out, that's something that we can actually work on.
And if I can also just add as well, there are fundamental exercises, and they're fundamental exercises for a reason. The squat, the push-up, the pull-up, the plank, those are the baseline for any type of exercise. And what I like to also say, like any kind of movement as well. They are we'll say the quote unquote, the safest way to be able to move your body, to move your lower body, to move your upper body, if your front, your back, to be able to work out and train your core muscles. And not talking about your abs, but also your back, your glutes, your hips. And one thing that I've learned over the years of doing these fundamental movements and teaching it is that this takes you past the gym. Like learning how to squat, learning how to deadlift. I find myself, I'm deadlifting to pick up a piece of paper. I'm squatting as proper as I can to pick up my kids. And that's not something I'm consciously thinking of. But because I've been practicing these movements, even before as a fitness coach, and something that I've seen as I train more and more people, is that they always tell me like, oh, when I walk up the stairs, I'm a lot more conscious of how I step, and I'm not even really thinking about it. So those are some other ways that you can think about fitness and health, and especially exercise, is that these movements will take you past the gym.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so how often did you meet with your team when starting the foundation of proper lifting?
Okay, so this is one of my favorite stories, and it actually starts with one individual on my team who happens to be our brewing lead, who's over the course of our work together, and honestly, it's been about 2 years where I've seen him kind of work through his fitness and his movements, and I've seen him try all sorts of diets, and I've kind of been a part of his journey throughout that. And it was really for the first time we started talking about brewery related movements, brewery related fitness to help him. Because so much of the thinking before that was, okay, I'm going to do this job and then I'm going to go wake up earlier, or I'm going to, after work, go to the gym. And one of the concepts Jimmy and I talk about all the time is as good of a plan you can have in terms of your fitness. Anytime you have to make a change, or you have to add something to your day, or you have to add a hurdle that you're not used to, that kind of lowers your possibilities of success, because it's not as what's the word that I'm thinking about, as something that you can carry forward consistently. And so we started talking about this idea of what can we do here? Like, we have the opportunity here. And so with that specific individual, it was a day-to-day conversation. As people started to see the work that we were doing together, the rest of the production team started to kind of come in on the conversations on a week-to-week basis. Jimmy started giving us a couple of movements that we could work on. The front house and tap room started to see the work that we were doing, and started to develop little ideas of their own up in their world. And really, like, there wasn't a notion of having to sell this idea to people, but it really did start organically. And now, people, I look at, I walk through the brewery and I see some of the front staff doing squats throughout the day. I walk in, I see, our brewing lead, before he's milling, like, using the grain bag to get in a couple of bicep curls. And irregardless of form, irregardless of the right way to do it yet, the fact that there's interest is the win right now. And from there, we'll talk about mobility. From there, we'll talk about the right form. But the idea that I have a team now that is interested in their health and wellness and fitness, like, that alone has kind of raised the bar.
That's
And if I can
awesome.
also chime in one on that as well, you getting started with exercise, especially for people who, one, are physical as yourselves, and then two, who may not have any interest of what exercise, because I think a lot of people think that exercise and fitness is about going to a gym, running a treadmill, lifting heavy weights, or doing a class. But that's not what fitness and exercise is. You all exercise every day. Anything that gets your heart pumping, build a little sweat, get your muscles working, that is the definition of exercise. Now, what's going to get you to get to the next level, or get you moving a little bit more, or getting you a little bit stronger, those are the things that you need to be a little bit creative with. You can make little games, and you can have little mini competitions, you can have incentives. Different things are going to drive different people, and in your work culture, you're going to have to find that thing that's going to drive you and your team. And that's the number one thing. As I go into companies, I consult with them, it is building that culture according to who your company is about, and the people are surrounding it. And again, to talk about Richard's point, getting people just to move in general is huge. Whether they're squatting the right way or the wrong way, I'm going to tell you something, that people are not going to do something if it hurts them. So even if they're squatting like a little incorrectly, as long as they're not feeling any pain and you get them to move, that I find always starts the little spark to get things moving along.
Sure. And is there any like liability considerations for employees like performing exercises in the workplace? Or, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously brewing is a physical job
yeah.
in itself. So, but
So I saw that question come in from Michael Dawson. So thanks for that question, Michael. It's something that I'm starting to consider now more and more as this movement starts to grow. And look, like, the big thing that I guess I want to make sure that we're not doing today is like, hey, like, build a workout program for your team and get them to do it. Really, this is an individual brewery to brewery set example. For us, this is not mandatory for Old Flame. again, it's something that we're using to kind of build this culture of movement and this culture of health and fitness. I don't have the answers in regards to liability considerations, but what I've shown my team, what I've asked them to consider doing, none of it is more difficult than our day-to-day asks, whether it's moving kegs or grain bags or anything of the sort. So, you know, when I think of the Brewers Games concept, okay, that is an opportunity for people to come and show what they have. That's not what I'm asking people to do at work. I'm not asking my team to come in and break a sweat and go home feeling like they just hit the gym. But it's about longevity and mobility at this point. But there will definitely be liability considerations for the Brewers Games, and that's something we'll sort out as we go.
Good point. Yeah, because that's a volunteer.
Yeah, that's a sign a waiver form type of activity.
Exactly. That's great. So are there any resources you might suggest for someone to strengthen their core or fundamental movements? And I know, Jimmy, like you already have some YouTube videos that we will be linking back to some of our materials as well on BSG Crafts YouTube channel. But, you know, to strengthen their core and fundamental movements, I come from a skiing background, downhill skiing, and I raced. And a lot of people always thought, especially early on, that you had to build your leg strength. But the upper body actually needed to be just as strong as the lower body in order for them to, you know, talk to each other. And I would think, just like brewing, you know, building the core is key, but are there any other things that you could do strengthening to help, you know, build muscle in certain spots to kind of compensate some of the...
Absolutely. So if I could chime in for that, you know, the core, when people think of the core, like I was mentioning earlier, people just think it's the six pack or the washboard abs. But the core is actually, if you think of the name, it's the coordination of your entire body. And what is in the center? In our center, there's our abs, right? Just like in the very front, there's our chest. And our chest is responsible for push type exercises. But that isn't just our upper body, right? We also have our back, who is in charge of pulling. So just like our abs, okay, our abs serve a function, but also our lower back serves a function. Also, there's actually what I also consider core just below that, which is our hips serve a huge function. Our glutes serve a gigantic function. And when I talk to companies, and most of the companies I talk to is office based, their lower region, their glutes, their hips are not active at all, extremely weak, and yet they're so focused on doing as many ab exercises as they can. So to answer that, like when you're thinking of core, think of your stomach, think of your back, think of your hips, think of your glutes, and one of the best resources to go to, I think, for any beginner, and that sounds like a very aggressive name, it's bodybuilding.com. They'll give you a great start on where and how to strengthen certain pieces of muscles, and it's free. Of course, there's always remixmyfitness.com, and every Saturday we also stretch and work on breathing techniques, stretching techniques, and I do live workshops every Saturday at 10 a.m. for that.
Dan, if you don't mind me just adding something real quick, and I don't know if Jimmy's going to be particularly happy with this comment, and it's a little bit of a shot to the fitness industry, but I think a lot of people, the way we're trained to think about fitness is based on the activity I'm going to do, whether it's skiing, brewing, a sports-specific workout. Like people are trained to think about this activity I'm going to do. There's a specific workout for that. If I'm playing basketball, there's a basketball workout, a hockey workout, a football workout. But I think the general tone and the general conversations I've had with Jimmy is that, yes, it's true to a certain degree, but there are much more fundamental, basic things that will help anybody. And this idea of the core is so important to me because it's not unique to just brewers. It's
Right.
not unique to anyone doing a specific job, but man, you work on your core and you've bulletproofed your body for a lot of different applications. whether that's work or sport.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. You're not brewing 24/7, hopefully. Um, you know, and so there's other activities people do outside of work, and I can see where, yeah, that's applicable and helps in any facet of life. So that's a good point. Um, was there anything provided by your brewery to keep the interest up? Was it incentivized, or, you know, obviously the reward from doing it is an incentive, but sometimes people need that extra push, you know, beyond New Year's Eve and making a resolution to kind of get in shape. So,
That's a really interesting question, and it's something that I'm still kind of working out in my mind. Um, and I'll try to address it in a couple of ways. And so the first thing is, so we're talking about fitness, but that falls under the bigger umbrella of people, and people fall under the larger umbrella of culture. And when I think of it like that, and I think about, and I have a vision, and I imagine the vision of the type of culture I want to build here at Old Slane. I want to build a culture that is not, you know, like carrot dangling in front of, you know, type of incentive workplace where, you know, people are rewarded, whether it's, you know, a dollar value, bonus structure. Like, 'cause, you know, I've grappled that idea too. Is like, okay, like there is a way to justify some kind of compensation structure where you are asking your team to hit certain fitness goals and targets, and that way you can kind of justify that with maybe lost time or things like that. But that's not interesting to me. What's interesting to me is, can you build a culture of people that are doing things because it's the right thing to do? And that's where a lot of my focus and work will be aimed towards when it comes to this initiative is, okay, like, let's make it accessible. Let's show people. And look, if someone's not interested, they're not interested. That's fine. But for the most part, so far, and the reason why I'm even in front of this group today is the interest level has been high. People are adapting into their day-to-day, and there's a little bit of potential in this.
And if I can add just one thing to that, which is one of the things that I've seen work really well for people who work in offices, but perhaps this could also work for you guys as well. As Richard has constantly said, this is a 10,000 step job. And one of the, I guess, contests, or one of the things that I've seen work really well is people who have Fitbits or who have watches, they will track how many steps they take. And these companies will take a huge billboard and calculate how many steps they've walked that day, and they'll say like, how long will it take us to actually walk to somewhere like Australia from where we are right now? And it becomes like this like fun little game that everyone plays, and they set little markers and things like that. So that's like another fun little incentive that wouldn't be like so much like the carrot dangling, you say.
yeah, that's a great one. Richard, has the emphasis on health and wellness affected what types of beers or ingredients you use in your brewery?
Great question. So we actually spoke about this when we were doing the dry run.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's the chicken or the egg concept, I wonder. But I think it's undeniable in the sense that our industry and category as a liquid is being asked to serve a larger number of occasions. You know, I think, you know, before when you thought of a beer, it was like, all right, I'm coming home, it's been a long day, I'm gonna crack a cold one, and it's time to relax. But now the product, and because of the plethora of recipes and brands that have now come out into the industry, now it's like, okay, I'm gonna work something in the kitchen and I'm gonna do some innovative cooking. And there is a brand of beer for that. A lot of food pairing opportunities. There is, you know, activity-based brands and recipes out there, like, you know, and as that transition occurs, one of the intersections that we've come to and arrived at as an industry is fitness and health. So what is my post-workout beer? What is the beer that I want after a long cycle ride? What is after a run, what beer am I reaching for? And, we've seen that across the entire spectrum in our industry, whether it's Michelob Ultra on the macro side that now is claiming to be like the post-workout beer, or something like, very close to them that we're doing at Old Flame. We have a recipe called No Regrets. That's a 2.9% super light lager at 100 calories or less at 355 milliliters that have gained traction around the local cyclists here. And so in a lot of ways, I think it works both ways in the sense that the consumer is looking at our product at different occasions, specifically in fitness and health. And as a result, it, begs the question of how can we further promote that and implement that on a day-to-day here at Old Flame.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people aren't doing a workout and then going for a Belgian quad. You're right. There's lots of different beers for the right moment, right?
Yeah.
And that's a neat way to look at it. I never even actually thought of it.
And so, as a brewery, if we continue to kind of gauge the moments, there's an infinite number of recipes that we can design to fit them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think beer is an amazing post-workout drink. We've seen it at when I take my team to Tough Mudder events. What the thing that they give you at the very end is a T-shirt, and they give you a tall boy of, I don't know if I can say this or not, but Dos Equis beer, and it's so refreshing. People love it. There's plenty of times where we have a cooler after we work out, when we used to work out in person at gyms, and at the end of the workout, there's nothing better than cracking open an ice cold beer and drinking together with your team. So I know that wasn't part of the question, but I just want to say beer is great.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. So that's it for questions right now, unless you guys have any more points to make or anything like that.
No, for me, I just want to say thank you to the people who joined and took some of the time to join us in this conversation. I saw from Matthew just the interest in the Brewers games, and even from Michael. So there's definitely a conversation to be had here. This webinar is part one of many, and in the future, you never know. We have a cool concept here with Jimmy and BSG, and we'll explore it all the way to the end to see what's possible.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how this evolves and everything. And I think it's a great idea. You guys both did a great job today, and I think it's just going to grow into something much bigger. So
for sure.
And Jimmy, appreciate you also putting a lot of your stuff online. I kind of went through and looked at it. So you have quite the library of different workouts and things like that available to people. So I wanted to kind of give you a little nod there.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. For me, we do live workouts virtually through Zoom, through companies, things like that. But the number one thing I would love to leave a lasting message is there's something for everybody. It might not be going to the gym. It might be playing basketball. It might be swimming. You got to find that something. And I think something like a Brewers game would work. Hey, if that's going to work for you, get you going. If it's about steps, if that's what's going to get you going, to go out there and find something, because there's definitely something for everybody.
Well, that's a great way to send it off. So, yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. Jimmy, Richard, thanks again. And from all of us at BSG, we appreciate you tuning in, and send us your questions if you have any more at webinars@bsgcraft.com. I will get those sent over to Richard or Jimmy as well, and be sure to kind of follow them on social media and see where everything evolves. It'll be a lot of fun. So,
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys, and thanks for
everyone.
tuning in, everyone. We'll see you soon.